All right, this is a shot of the skin surface, just a wavy little surface like we have, the little tiny pores, and then this is the lower investment. And that's how it grabs down from above. And there's all these little black spots above here that are investments up, and then there's investments down, and in between is the areolar tissue, which is the loose connective tissue, and some people have it thick, some people have it thin. All right, this is fossilized skin. What creature, I have no clue. But these are the little pores. You can see them all over the place, just like you have on your own skin. And what this is a areolar investment. And the way they come is that there's straps and flaps, I call them. And there's like a strap that comes in here, and they always fracture just south of as it fans. So they come in like this, they fan out like this. Now, within this structure is this deep investment here, and there may be more than one, but normally there's one, and then they have a bunch of claws around the outside, so underneath it's grabbing just like that. And I have them deteriorated where the skin is gone and just below. And you can see the same structures are below the surface that are on top of the surface. And this distance between the top of the surface and down, as you can see over here, there's a distance there. I don't have any calibrations on this, but these are from creatures that are bigger than we're used to, you know, that we see skin on nowadays. This may be, I don't know, half an inch around, whatever. But they have that kind of an investment. Now, all this black stuff is the sublimated remains of organic fluids. So primarily it's ferrous oxides, and you see some red ones and some black ones, and that's the Fe2 and Fe3 pluses. And they all have the same structure and the same chemicals. And you'll notice the fan comes out like this fan. Now there's another one that's laid over the top of that. Normally I don't see them differentiated this much, but this is deteriorated to a point where it's just about to lose all of its skin. And then it will be below, and you'll be on this surface, and then it will go below that, and it'll be into the tissues. And this is what's called an areolar investment. That's what I call it. So it's a strap with a flap. It has major investments with claws, and there's always the blood supplies. If you can see here, those two are the vein and the artery, and they supply, you know, I don't want to say vein and artery, it's a supply and a return. And there's a lot of little vessels and things. Now, I have some of these being CAT scanned right now, and we'll see what they determine. But anyway, this is, I believe that is the skin. What I have found is that this represents the skin layer. This lighter layer with, this is the areolar tissue, which is literally a fatty layer, and that's adipose tissue, and then you go into the muscles and the tendons and so forth, and these are like investments in there that cling this stuff to this stuff, and they all have them. There's a layer that goes up, there's a layer that goes down, and then there's a layer that has fibers that run all through this, and then they terminate here in the lower part of the adipose tissue, the loose connective tissue. And you can see how they come along here and they invest into it, and the lower connective tissue is here, and this is what floats around. If you push your skin around, you push your skin around this way and that way, this sort of floats around because it's all areolar. There's all holes and loosely connected tissues in here. There's tons of fluids and so forth. And then below that, it's grabbed onto by these tendinous fibrils that come from the muscle tissues and tendons. This, I believe, is areolar tissue. And these are the fibrous flakes within inside, and they're like little rubber bands that go from the upper structure that has the skin on it, to the lower structure that is the deeper tissue, the basement layers. And this is like, they call it adipose tissue, areolar tissue. It's got lots of little holes in it, and this ended up, those little holes became filled with bodily fluids, and they have sublimated out, and these now, I believe, are metals, because the sublimation process destroys everything else that's not metal up till about 1500 degrees and certain temperatures and pressures, and then the remainder is metals and carbon and the Fe2, Fe3, copper, aluminum, gold, platinum, the gold group, and all that business. And then below that is the tissue layer. All right, this is electrum, and if you can see right here, electrum is gold with little platinum, little copper, little silver, and this is completely lithified into quartz. Everything else is driven away except the metals and the quartz. Now, these little, I believe these are the holes where the blood is spewing out. Now, these little tiny fibers are the fibers that I show in those enthesis points, I believe. And I believe they're Sharpie's fibers. And those fibers are what anchors these enthesis points right into the bone. And it ends up, the metals don't sublimate, but everything else does. And the carbon transitions. All right, this is a block of hematite that has been eroded with acid. And I am saying that this is one of the enthesis points for a tendon. And it straps in, and there's a ball here. And there's the blood supply, there's the other blood supply here, and you can see them all in these cavities. And this is gold, and that gold is in these tiny little holes that go in, as you've seen before, in the little bone. And these, in certain cases, they end up spewing out bits of gold, but it's in these attachment areas.